We're live, I believe. Right? Yes. Yeah, we are live. Excellent. Excellent. Let me just open any level, really. And welcome, welcome, welcome everyone to this stream, this impromptu stream. And in this time, in this occasion, we're going to be creating a combat system from scratch. We will probably make a video about the game we're making, but I just didn't want to make on a bit start making a video and leaving the actual development for later on. I just wanted to develop something, so that's what I'm gonna do now. So it's going to be a pretty chill stream. I'm just going to start making the combat system for our game, which I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. And because usually I'm just talking with myself whenever I'm developing, might as well stream it, might as well show the actual process of making something from scratch. So no, this is not a tutorial. I mean, you can ask me in in the chat if any question appears, but I'm gonna guess that you already have a good understanding on how Unreal works. And I'm also using C++ for certain things. So yeah, it will be interesting, at least for me, because I have been doing a lot of things with blueprints because I have been teaching a lot, especially beginners. So I may be a little bit rusty with this. So the first thing that you need to have in order to make any type of system, in our case, well, in my case, the combat system is an idea of what you want. So here I have my super complete design document, which only have this because it's a new game, and I really don't like to type too much about it because a lot of things here can change. I'm only typing the things that are the less likely to change, right? So this is the gameplay loop of the game that I'm going to be doing. So very easily, you start in a town. This part I want to make right now. In the town, you can interact with the buildings, the people, etc. Probably just the buildings. Again, I won't do that. We choose a quest, and then eventually the player will decide to go on that quest. You can think about this type of game like an RPG, and I don't want to label it too much with the genre because I want to actually have a lot of freedom when I'm developing, or at least at the start of the game development process. A lot of things can change, and yeah, I really don't want to limit myself. So yeah, that's one thing that at least for me is very important. And yeah, so I mean, we can call it an RPG. It will have some things from an RPG, but not necessarily will be a only an RPG. So this part, this town mode, I'm not really bothering too much with developing something for it because you don't really. I mean, it should be fun, but the main thing that will make the game fun is the combat. You want to, and I think I have a document here that of of one of my notes about the combat. No, about the gameplay loop. Nope. Loop. Oh, here it is. Like, how do you figure out the core loop of any game, right? You just want to know what the player is doing, what's stopping them from doing it, and why they are doing it, right? That's the only thing that you need to do. So, in this game, and here is my document with all the game ideas that I have that probably I won't do. They are just ideas. I just wanted to get them out of my head to develop this game. Is that you want to defeat the final boss? That's the thing that you want to do, actually. But to do that, you need to get better, level up, get better gear, get more stats, increase your power level, whatever. You just need to get stronger. And to do that, well, you need to start defeating enemies, fulfilling quests. You fulfill a quest, you will get a reward, you may get experience points, whatever. And to do that, to fulfill a quest, there must be obstacles. Otherwise, I don't want to create a walking simulator that, oh, just go to this part, deliver this, and come back. I mean, there could be a quest like this, but it's a lot better to have something that's making it hard for the player to actually fulfill the quests. So this is where the combat enters. And because of that, I don't really need to worry too much about this town mode. I don't need to worry too much about this returning to town and completing the quest. I only need to worry about this field mode that I just named it field mode because you were in a town and now you're going to the field to fulfill a quest. So I have added everything that I thought regarding what should happen, and I'm not gonna do this because, well, I just want to focus on the most important part, like the actual combat, right? Completing the quest irrelevant for me right now. Drawing the random event when you return to the town or drawing the random event when you leave the town is very irrelevant. Arriving for my tests, I only want to already be in the place. I only want to explore a little bit and do combat, right? So this exploring part, I already made it. If we just hop back to the project, I press play. I have a character. Right now, the game is a third, not a third person, but a top-down type of camera, and yes, yeah, kind of a third person. And I can move around, right? That's the thing that I can do. This is the exploring part. I really don't need more about the exploring part right now because this is just a medium to get to the combat. And again, everything can change. That's the beauty of starting a project, especially a project that you like. This is a game idea that I had a long time ago, and because we have been too busy making more tutorials and making more courses, then I haven't been able to do it. And lately we have decided that, hey, what a better idea if we make a game, and if something interesting happens, then yeah, we can actually teach it, right? It will be one of the actual best ways to teach in a working game. Especially, we have received a lot of comments that that were telling us, hey, what you're teaching maybe is not for games. Like it's more for example, when we make a map, like there are a lot of people that says, oh yeah, but if you put that in a game, it will not perform. Dude, it's a game engine. It's supposed to perform well, and yeah, so it will be better for us to actually enjoy the process. We are in this to actually make games. Teaching is just like a side job for us, or at least it will be now. So yeah, that's why right now probably I'll just try to stream very frequently regarding the actual game making process. So here we have the exploring part. We just need to do that combat part, and I think that it will be very interesting to actually see how this will perform. So let me just open the combat flow that I had here. This part is very important before starting actually programming or coding or just even opening the engine. Because if you just open the engine and start typing around and doing things how you please, you'll eventually achieve it, right? But we will have a problem in the end result, because when you want to actually start adding more stuff to the game, then if you have not structured your project in a way that will handle the changes that you may make, you're gonna start patching things, you're gonna start doing quick fixes, and then things get very messy. Now, this flow, I didn't pull it out of my behind. Like, it's not that, oh, I'm super smart and just actually make it, right? I made a prototype of the game that I want to create, and I can actually show the prototype. Let me just close this. And let me just open my Unreal projects. And the prototype should be... No, it's not this one. How did I call it? Game RPG? Maybe it's this one. But yeah, I made a prototype super fast, super dirty. I just wanted to test the idea. And that's something that maybe we can talk about in a video, a more concise video, like an edited video, maybe not a live stream, because during live streams I tend to just ramble on. But yeah, probably that would be the first step of developing any type of game. If you have the knowledge to actually create a quick prototype, just do it. So I created this prototype, and especially the combat prototype, I just used whatever assets that I could find. If I didn't find the asset, for example, for uh, textures, I just asked any kind of AI to generate some stuff for me, just so I can get a good idea and be done with it, right? Because everything here is just a test. So this is how the combat would kind of look like. It's not set in stone. This is just a way that I could pump it out very quickly, but it's just a turn-based type of combat. This combat, I will have my character in this part. The enemy will be at this side. And here, I will have my gear. And my gear will have actions. And these actions will have costs. For example, this one has a physical cost and a HP type of cost. And here we have tokens that actually should have a symbol. I'll just put whatever text I can find that we can assign to certain actions. So if I have HP here and I have HP here, then you can see that the token was actually assigned. We can click on the back and we can get more tokens. We can start assigning more things here. And when we fulfill any type of action, the action happens. In this case, I think I just added like 4 damage or 20 damage, I don't remember. And the action evolves. I mean, it could be like the second part of the any type of combo, but that's how the combat should go. And in the case of the enemy, you will find here like this number, And what this number means is like the amount of times that I got something out of this token bag to actually do the actions, right? Because I'm still playing, right? But probably I will either run out of tokens, or maybe I can set a hard limit like, oh, you only get uh, five pulls out of the bag, and then it's the enemy's turn. And in the enemy turn, well, depending on how many actions you did or how many times you pulled tokens out of your bag, that will be the amount of times that the enemy will be able to attack me or to do something. In this case, 4 times. So it's just like, okay, maybe I can defeat the enemy in one go, but if I fail, then hey, now the enemy has like 4 actions to deal damage to me. So it's all about managing a little bit of risk whenever you're attacking the enemy. So that's the overall idea of the combat of this game. I I think, and I found it pretty fun, pretty fun. And to create this, everything is hard coded. If I complete, for example, these boots, which I should have, or I do not have. For example, this gadget that says accuracy up, or this armor that says quick heal, because I have the tokens, it's going to do damage, and the action is going to evolve to a slash 2, right? Of course, it was hard coded for this sword to work. But doing this prototype really cleared my mind, uh, especially the classes that I would need, the systems that I would need to create, the overall flow that I will need to have. And as a prototype, well, everything that I did here, it's trashed. I'm not creating on top of a prototype. A prototype, the value of the prototype, and let me just re-emphasize, reiterate, or make it very clear. The value of a prototype is the lessons learned, not the actual code, not the actual assets, not the actual systems. No, it's the lessons that you are learning in order to actually do the job. So, yeah, nothing that I'm doing here I'm actually using. But I did manage to create this flowchart that actually tells me how the combat will go. And I also created a class diagram of things that I may use in the future and that I needed to create in that prototype. So, for example, like the game mode and things that I'm gonna store there, the controller, the characters, this stat component with things like the name, the health, this structure called combat stat that will hold my vitality, strength, intelligence, dexterity. It's an RPG after all. I mean, it has aspects of an RPG. I created this weapon component, and I think this was a data asset. But the thing about this is that it's not going to fit with how I eventually did the combat. So this was created during the prototype phase, like, oh, maybe this is how I will save the actions and how I will do the things. But I didn't actually end up implementing it because I didn't need to implement it for my prototype. I mean, oh, you can have multiple weapons, great, but from the prototype, I only need one, right? And that one, I even hard coded. So I never created a class for this, for the combat, or I never created a class for weapons because I didn't really need it. I wouldn't want to waste time on that. And now I can safely say, oh, maybe this part is really not needed. It didn't cost me that much to just write this, as in comparison to just actually writing the class and actually developing uh, the system. So yeah, please prototype your projects before actually developing them in a stable manner. Like you want to also test the idea, like, oh, this idea looks great, but not necessarily um, not necessarily a good one. So whenever you actually implement stuff, then well, you will be able to know what things work, what things don't, if it's fun. I did have fun with my prototype, so that's why I decided, okay, this has some future, so let's just create the thing. So let's start with it, because in my project I don't have anything. I only created like the character and the component with the stats, which here you can find the vitality, strength, intelligence, dexterity, speed, luck, things that I added here. And this is inside a actor component called stats component, which should be here. Here it is. So it's pretty simple stuff, boring stuff, if you ask me. And in the character, I just added that stat component. So if I looked at it from inside the editor, I will be able to see the actual component and the things that I can modify inside blueprints. So let me just again create a new basic level. I really not done. I don't need that much. A basic one, because I have already set up a game mode that is being used by default. Then I will have this working. And in my characters, it's a simple character. We have the stat component we added in C++. We have the name and some other values, the current health, and the combat stats. So we can edit that as we please. Right, so what's next, right? Well, it's all about the combat flow. And this is starting when the combat starts. And if we see our game design document, which is just this, the player doing combat relies on the player exploring something. So, what is it exploring? The world. And here is like a game design decision that I need to do. If I want to start the combat, like let's say I have a character here, and the combat starts when I touch the character or when the other character sees me, like in Pokemon. I mean, here it's like I really don't know. I'm just going to implement something quick. Probably if I touch the character, I'll just start combat. Super simple way of doing it and be done with it. So this character, it's a character called customizable character. It's very clean. This one has a gameplay camera. I could probably get away with putting this gameplay camera in another part or creating it on the fly, because this means that this character that I'm not playing as also has a camera like me, and that probably isn't the best case scenario. But I don't care. For now, I really don't care. What I want is to actually interact with it when I collide with. So again, for now, I'll just create a collision sphere, and then just modify the radius. And whenever this is collided, or well, overlap is fine. I'm gonna do something, right? To keep my character clean, like I think the best way I could do it is just use a child blueprint. Not gonna worry too much about that because uh, I'm not really sure if this is how my combat is going to start. So I'm just making a lot of assumptions, and then I can clean up the code. Is the code should be the thing that is super maintainable and generic. So yeah, whenever this overlaps something, and let me just set up the overlap. This will be the overlap sphere. And this overlap sphere, the collision should overlap only pounds. That's it. We will just check it out because I'm using Perforce to save my progress. And we need to do something here. We need to start the combat. Now, how do you start the combat? Something needs to keep track of the combat. If the way that the combat worked was that in the level, the only thing that I will be doing is combat, which I'm not, because as you saw, I can explore around. Then I would put it on the game mode and let the game mode decide, like, oh, the game, the state of the game depends on if you have won the combat or if you have lost the combat, right? I would put it on the game mode. But in this case, I don't think that it would be like a good idea because I could have multiple combats in one place or in one level or in one quest or in multiple quests. I don't know. So probably I'll just create a manager class that takes care of that combat and let the game mode create that manager class. Because it's going to be a manager class and I'm gonna create it on the game mode, I might as well use C++ for that. So let me just go to, where was it? Ah, here it is. I need an actor, and let's just create combat manager. And I will put it on a folder called managers. And let's just create. Now, this is something that I didn't actually thought about when I was making the prototype, but it became really apparent that I was going to need a manager class because of the way that the combat entered or the combat start or finished. I did put it on the game mode, and I found some limitations that I didn't really like putting a lot of functions regarding one system in the game mode. So might as well, if you have that problem, just create a manager and let the manager uh, be in charge of that, right? And it's a good idea because I'm doing it like this. Let's just create in my class diagram. I'll just copy and paste this, and you will see a lot of copy and paste during development. Is part of being a, a game programmer or a programmer in general. I mean, when I was doing web pages, a lot of copy and paste there. When I was doing some systems, then Yeah, a lot of copy and paste there also. Um, Applications also a lot of copy and paste. So for now, I'll just leave this so I can modify it later. This one will be called the game, no, the combat manager. And this combat manager is going to be created by the game mode. And so I'll just put creates or instantiates or whatever. As long as you can understand yourself, I mean, it's fine. If you're working on a team, then as long as your as your boss can understand you, then it's fine. Right. So this combat manager is going to give me issues, but it's as simple as that, right? I'll close this because when you create a new class, it's not mandatory, but it is a good idea to to close the editor, compile this, and because I'm compiling, let me just check out the DLL because I'm working with Mao, and he does not have a C++ a C++ compiler installed in his machine, and he refuses. So I'll just give him the binaries. So let's just compile. Let me let me make sure that the project understands that there's a new class. Perfect. So with this, I have this combat manager. Why is it red? Because I have not pushed it? Or because I have not added it? Let me just add it. Oh yeah, it is added. Okay, I thought it didn't do that automatically. Perfect. So what do we need? What do we need here? Well, we need to start the combat. So I know that because my flow, my the flow chart actually says, yeah, the combat start. So for now, I'll just put a simple function. It's code. I can change it to whatever I want. That's the magic of working with text. It's very easy to change. So void start combat. Oh, whoops. And when we start combat, what do we need actually? We need two characters. We need our player and we need the enemy, right? Makes sense. So I will need a variable that can hold, and let's just call it characters because everything will be a character in this game. Could be also pound. Should it be a pound? If I later on want to add something that is not a biped, maybe a wolf. Yeah, okay, I'll make it a pound. So pound, and this will be. I mean, if I put player here, the player I can get it very easily. So it wouldn't make sense. I wanted to make a system that is very generic. So I'm not going to call it player. I'll just call it combatant. That's the word, I think, right? And I also want to create the. It could be combatant. I don't know. So I'll just ask AI. Hey, what does it? What does combatant mean? And the other one should be the enemy combatant. And every time I'm curious about something, I'll just, yeah, this AI is going to take too much thinking that I want to, I don't know, add a thesis on it. Define competent. Sounds good. How do you say it?
Combatant. Combatant.
Combatant.
Combatant.
I don't know why it sounds weird. So pronounce combatant.
Combatant.
Combatant. That sounds.
Combatant.
That sounds more like it. Combatant. There it is. So we have the first combatant and the enemy combatant. This is also assuming that you will be able to control one, but not necessarily. The enemy combatant should be the one that is red. That's basically it. Here I should add the U property to, excuse me, the U function, because I will probably use it in blueprints. For now, I don't want to worry too much about it. I just want to know what functions do I need. And then we can start using the system. And when we use the system, well, then we can actually start uh, knowing what we missed in the process, and also what do we need in the future. So for now, this combat system is going to be handled by a manager, which it should be created by the game mode, which it would be a good idea to to add. So where is my game mode? Mode. Here it is. And let me just open the header. Here in the begin play, I want to do something and create the actual actor. So let me just generate the code, override the members. Let's search for begin play. Yeah, okay. Let's just check out this file in Perforce. And then let's generate the definition. We have the definition here. And we can create it here. I wouldn't create it on the initialization. Let me think about it a little bit. Would it be a good idea? Let me just create it here, then I'll try if it will be a good idea to use another play to create this. But for now, I want to spawn an actor. And if for whatever reason, like me, which my memory sucks, you do not know how to do it, well, I have good news for you. Well, depending on who are you talking with, you can just Google it. Spawn actor in C++, Unreal Engine. How to spawn an actor? Been trying for 9 hours now. I trust the documentation more than a forum post, but if the forum post is funny, why not? Why not enter it and laugh a little bit? Can someone show me a 10 step tutorial? The other thing, you can actually use the developer assistant and type how to spawn a manager class in my game mode when how to spawn one of my manager classes in my game mode when the game starts. And while that generates, let me just check the forum. Oh, new topics, updates, tools. It's Fortnite stuff. Engine. This is just showing a message. This is the parameters for the spawn, which you want. Get word spawn actor. Get word spawn actor. That's the thing. Get this class. That's not a good idea. I think. You want to spawn this get class and you want to spawn another player controller because this is inside the player controller. It's super weird. yes, yes, reading other people's code and their comments is so entertaining. It's really easy. Vector location 000, rotation, and don't forget to include the thing that you're trying to spawn. Yeah, now this is different. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's not too much magic like here also. Oh, it's telling me to save it as a variable so I can hold it. Makes sense. And the instance just uh, get the world, spawn it. Again, we can just copy and paste. I just want to copy and paste this one. And in the H, I'll just did it suggested to put it on protected? Yes. Interesting. It's going to be a PH combat manager. And let's add include. I could use forward declaration, but I mean, we're gonna want to load this definitely at the start, so I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. Reference to it and the combat manager. Let's just call it combat manager. Now, if we are declaring it here, we can use the how was it? The object reference or something like this. Object reference. I always forget, dude. I'll just ask for the for this. I want to use that thing that it was a template or a macro. That macro. I'll just put it that thing because I'm not sure of the term. I want to use a thing that said something along the lines. Here's here the chat could really help me because I don't remember my C++. Well, my assisted C++ that well, and this is something a little bit new that I remember encountering when I was lurking in some projects. So I want to use that thing that said something along the lines object ref before the. Let's just send it like that and let's see what it tells me. Meanwhile, I mean, this already works, so we can just. Oh, I didn't. I lost my copy and pasting abilities. New object. Ah, no, that's not what I want. I wanted to be an actor, just like so. In blueprints, it's going to be very easy to access it and modify it. So my combat manager get world should be a PH combat manager. Where should I include? I'll just forward declare it. And here I will include it. And here I'll just use it. Zero vector is fine. Zero rotation is fine. This works. This definitely works. And the object pointer, that's the thing. That's what I was looking for. So the object pointer, and it's like this, right? Yep. Yep. I remember reading that this the object pointer uh, was for optimization reasons, like especially if you're handling references. That's the way to do it now, right? Probably. This the object pointer ensures safe references and tracks the object for garbage collection without you managing raw pointers manually. Use this pattern instead of raw pointers for all you object or a actor reference you own inside you property fields. So yeah, I do want it to be inside of a you property field. And a smart pointer. Yeah, I wanted to know when was this introduced side Unreal. I'm just curious because in Unreal 4 you just did the raw pointer thingy and it's fine. And only do that this only use this if you're in the header. If you are just creating a reference to something inside a function, like just just use a raw pointer because it's going to get destroyed as as the function finishes. Was introduced in Unreal 5. Makes sense because in Unreal 5 I didn't use that much of C++. And it replaced the legacy raw pointer usage in uProperty fields to improve the GC safety. You learn a thing all the time. Great. So we have the reference to the combat manager. We have the spawning of the combat manager. If I actually want to use it in blueprints, then I will need to define the properties of it. So if I remember correctly, yeah, let's just give it a category. No, this is not it. It's just blueprint, read, Should I write this property can read but not modified? Read only. Category. It should be combat. If I need more modifiers, I'll just add them. Again, you don't need to get it perfect at the start. And that's actually a good thing to have in mind. And oh, I cannot do it like that. Okay, I'll just. I thought I could remove it, but it's fine. It's fine. Great. So with this, I just need to finish um, adding the functionality that I want inside this manager. So when the combat starts, I want to fill the token back depending on the stats. So this should happen, yeah, at the start of the of the combat. So I'll just add some. Um, let's call this some function initialize combat. Combat. Let's just call it initialization of values before combat. Now, now it's more clear of my intention with this initialization, right? With I want to initialize the token bag, where I will be able to pull tokens, and those tokens I will be able to spend them in actions that can actually hurt the enemy. Now, I really prefer a big name that explains whatever it is going to do than a small name and then you having to write, hey, this function initializes the token bag. I mean, I'm not against comments, but if I can save them, if I don't need to use them, it's better. And this will be blueprint. Should it be blueprint callable? Do I really want to give that power to game designer? I believe I don't. I really don't want. So let's just keep it as a U function. If I need it later on, again, it's just a matter of adding the text and compiling. Right, so let's save. Let's save everything actually. Let me just remove these other classes that are not needed right now. Yeah, so we initialize any, I mean, we're initializing the token back, but we may have more things to initialize. So I'll just leave it. I'm just leaving it like that. Then we enter the player turn. By default, I'm guessing I'm choosing that the player will always attack first. Yeah, I think for now that will be the case. Maybe later on we can change it to something else. Maybe like Pokemon that you make the your attack and then by a value of speed, like you choose which attack goes first. But better not like Pokemon. I don't want Nintendo to sue me. So my player will always attack first for now. So what we want to do is to set or start player turn. Yeah. Should it be called player turn? If this is going to be very generic, the fact that it's a player or an AI shouldn't matter. So let's use start combatant combatant turn. Oh, and in this case, should I add here that the combatant is the pawn that started the the combat, the fight, whatever, the combat. Yeah, and we have like the the tooltip there. Perfect. So start combatant turn. It's just a void. We don't need to return anything. Okay. Then what should happen? So shaking the bag, like randomizing whatever is inside the bag, and getting a token should happen automatically. But I mean, there should be like a function to actually do this. Now, this functionality uh, shouldn't actually be in the combat because for whatever reason I drop the idea of having a bag with tokens that can enable you to do actions. Then it doesn't make any sense for me to put here like, oh, let's put shake the bag or something like that. Shake, because what bag, man? What are you talking about? If I'm looking at the combat thing that it should happen, I'm not seeing any bags. So this part is just for the player and how the player can attack. This also, if we think about it like that, means that my player can attack with tokens, but my enemies maybe have a simpler way of attacking. Maybe some cards, or maybe just randomizing between 2 or 3 actions, and that's just it. They don't really need to use any token if I don't want them to use any token. And in my case, I do not want them to use the token mechanics because it's very boring to see the enemy try to play like you. Uh, What do I mean by this? Like, for example, in Fire Emblem, and it's a lot easier if I just search for Fire Emblem combat. There should be an image, like a simple image. Yeah, let's say this one. Here, you have these controllable units, right? In your turn, you select a unit, you move them someplace, and you do that for all your units. That's fun. I mean, I had a lot of fun playing Fire Emblem. Not necessarily this one, but the old ones and some of the new ones. And it's fun. You're organizing your army and you're sending your strategy against the strategy of the enemy. What I find a little bit boring, I wouldn't say like it's too much of a problem, but it kind of irritates me a little bit, is when it's the enemy's turn. Whenever it's the enemy's turn, then I have to wait for the enemy to do the same things that I have done. Like, oh, I'm going to select this enemy and I'm gonna move it here, and then it's going to attack you. And then I'm gonna move this here, it's going to attack you. If I have more things here, the camera will be going wild, and I can fast forward it. But I mean, it's not a good that much of a good idea because you're going to be losing a little bit of what the enemies did. Now, I find it a little bit irritating because I need to wait and they are forcing me to wait. But again, I don't think how you can solve this problem in this specific type of game because you do need the information of what the enemy is doing. I believe that the Valkyrie. What was the name of the game? I don't remember, but they, they solved this in a very clever way, like the Valkyrie Chronicles. So the way that you move, it was a third person type of movement in a strategy game, pretty unique. You can see the enemies that can look at you and that can shoot you. But when the enemy moves, okay, you see the same camera, but only for the enemies that are revealed. Why? Because I cannot find a uh, combat map, maybe. When you don't know where the enemies are, there we go. Here, let's call it Fog of War. You only saw until this part. And whatever happened behind this, you only just get it as sound effects, as footstep sound effects that something is happening here, but you don't actually see it. But whenever an enemy that was near you, then you saw the third person camera and how they actually are shooting your guys. So I thought that that was a very clever way of getting around the issue of having to wait for all the enemies that the enemy commander could have. But yeah, I got sidetracked talking about games, which the point was that I don't want my enemies to have exactly, or I don't want them to be forced to play as a player. That was the point of this tangent. So shake debug, I don't need it. Pulling tokens, I don't need it. Increase the amount of cards the enemy can play by one. This part, maybe I can do something about it, because in the combat right now that I'm thinking about, uh, the enemy actions will be determined by the player actions. So more amount, or the greater the actions that the player takes, then that number will be the same that actions that the enemy will be able to take. So I'm giving a great advantage to the player, but it comes with a risk. If they squander those actions, then they will get the actual um, the actual punishment, let's call it. Oh, and I just answered, and I answered in both chats. Okay, that's not a problem. Right. So let's actually. Hopefully you didn't saw that. It seems some friend is getting a barber treatment. Okay, so we don't need shaking the bag here. It's things that are happening inside the combatant turn, which is the pound that starts the combat. That's fine. What I want to know, or what I want to do later on, is start enemy combatant turn. Now I want to add actions to the amount of things that the enemy combatant can or cannot do. Right? So I do need a variable here. Yeah, I do need a variable. Yes. Let's just create a U property. Should I be able to edit it anywhere? I don't think so. This should be an integer. number of actions the enemy combatant can do. And again, I really prefer long names. If they can tell me what this variable will hold, I'm happy. So this will be the number of actions the enemy combatant can do. And we should have a way of adding to these actions. So we can just let's just create a simple function for that. Add actions that the enemy combatant can do. I mean, this is a public variable, so probably you can just get it and then we can set it. Maybe this should be private variable. I'll just leave it like this. I will change it later on. And here in adding, I just want to know a value to add. And because this one is a very clear type of definition, or well, it has a clear implementation. This is just going to be, we get the number of actions. I mean, instead of number of, I mean, if it's an integer, we really don't need this part. It's understood that it's a number. Actions the enemy combatant can do, and this will be, yeah, that's exactly what I need. I also want to spend the actions because the enemy will be able to do one action at a time. So uh, I'll call it spend enemy combatant actions. Otherwise, I mean, it will get the name will get too big for my taste. Spend enemy combatant actions, and this could be add enemy combatant actions. I like the name better, and I will always spend one action, so that's not needed. And this, I need to change it to this other name that I'm using, and I want this to be after my other function. So it's the same. It's just actions the enemy combatant can do minus equal 1, and that's it. I could check if I can actually do the action, and this will come handy later on. So I'm just thinking in the future. This should be a boolean. And we can check here if actions the enemy, and you can see that my typing skills are very bad. That's why I rely so heavily on copy and pasting and autocomplete. Actions the enemy combatant can do. If it's greater than 0, then for sure, let's do it. If it's less than 0, if it's less or equal than 0, we can either return false. I it's just a coding style, like if you want to return true inside the if, or if you want to return true outside of it. So I want to return false here, and I want to return true here. I like it this way better. It's a matter of preference. So if the actions are less or equal than 0, I don't know why they would be less than 0, but I always program in a defensively way. So I know something went horribly wrong if this was a negative number, but I don't think it would affect the game that much. So I'll just still uh, do it like this. I don't want to catch this error. And if it's greater than 0, then we just diminish it by 1, and then we return true because we could spend the enemy combatant action. If we cannot spend the enemy combatant action, then it means that the action shouldn't be taken in consideration. Yeah, that's good for now. Let's compile. And let's see our flowchart if I'm missing something. Does the player passes? Okay, so I do need to tell the the manager when my player wants to pass. Now, what's this? Unresolved symbol. What do you mean unresolved symbol? Oh, I okay. I didn't generate that definition for this. My bad. My bad. My bad. Return. Just return. I could probably just leave it without a return, but it won't sit that well with me. Return. So we have the start combat, in the initialization, start combatant turn, start enemy combatant turn. I need a way of telling my manager that I want to pass. I could do like, oh, pass combatant turn and pass enemy combatant turn, but let's just remember that there can only be one active player, so I'll just create pass the turn. Will be void pass the turn, or pass turn, whatever. Pass the turn. The active turn. Pass active turn. Great. Now it will be a good idea also for this manager to know which um, which turn is it, right? Makes sense. So I will want to create an enumerator, and I don't remember how to do it in C++. So let me just ask. Where is my how do I create an enumerator in C++ that I can also use in Blueprint? I mean, I know the specifier is blueprintable, and it should be something. My memory is super bad, so it was like enum. enum declaration, my enum, and here I put I don't remember u enum, you oh yeah u enum blueprint type was it? Sí, un enum básico ahí, ahí me dicen en el chat. Just like that. I, it's been so long that I forgot. Current option. Yeah, I can just copy and paste this. This will be my E um, combat turns. This will be combatant. And usually I really like for my first option to be always none, because then I know that it has not been initialized correctly. Combatant. A ver, la pregunta en el chat. Epic tiene un apartado de IA o cómo preguntaste eso? He's asking if Epic has like its own AI or how did I ask it? Yes, sí. Si vas a la página de Unreal, en the Unreal Engine page, clica Learning y acá encuentras el Developer Assistant que está hecho para Unreal. Así que si no tienen cuenta en, en ChatGPT, ahí está para todos. So yeah, it's very easy to use, as you have saw me. And yeah, why not use it? Of course, always do check if something is weird or not. Okay, so this should be none. Combatant. Enemy combatant. That's good. Yeah, Chrono. Don't worry. We're here to share the knowledge. Y si quieres preguntar en español, también está bien. Lo tendré que traducir, pero también está bien. No, no me mata. Okay, let's compile. The errors should have been fixed. And or maybe not. What's the error now? I haven't. This is the same one. Pass active term. The only thing that this should do is get the enum, which I haven't created. It's always something with this. I do need the u property, and this should be. How did it say that I should use it? Enum, edit anywhere, blueprint retry. Sounds fine to me. Sounds fine to me. This part, no. Edit. Maybe not even the defaults. I really don't want this to be edited by in blueprints. I will only want this to be red, and the category should be combat. Yeah, and this also. I only want this to be red. This is not fine. The what I need is this one. Combat turn. maybe I will need more turns. I don't know. Maybe there could be a three-way battle. I don't know, but there is the possibility there. And here in the past active turn, let's just see, how did I call it? Current option, current turn. Let's just copy this. If the current turn, no, how was it? Like this? No, no. Well, if the current turn equals E combat turn combatant, then the current turn equals, whoops, the enemy combatant. We're just changing the turn. Else, it could be an else. It could be, um, yeah, it could be an else. And let's just be done with it. Let's keep it simple. If this is the enemy combatant, it's going to change to the combatant turn. Now we're not handling the non type of um, setup, so probably it's a good idea to handle it. If this is none, we just return. Yeah, and we could probably convert this into one line by using the these two operators, but would it make sense? Would it be more readable? Let's see how I feel about it. What do you think? Which one is more readable? This one or this one? I think both. And if both compile, I forgot to read only here. My bad. I bought the course of Unreal with you guys, but I lost my project, so I need to make it again. But I want to know if UNF has a course about C++ for UE. Wow, in one line. Uh, we don't. As you can see, I'm really rusty with C++. So that's why I haven't made a course on it. I really don't like to share information I'm not really sure about. I mean, I know how to use it, but I'm not that comfortable with it because I used to use C++ with Unreal 4, and a lot of things, well, not a little, not that much things, but some things did change, and yeah, it's not my, it's out of my comfort zone. So yeah, if I mean these things, if you know C++, then uh, makes sense. Like you really for small things like that, you don't need an if. But yeah, sometimes an if is more readable. And I don't remember actually. Let me just ask now that I am thinking correctly. Whoops. I have these two ways of doing the same thing. which one does Unreal prefers? Also, does Unreal C++ supports this? Let's see. I mean, pretty much I'm all also learning. How did you learn C++ with Unreal? Okay, you know blueprints. If you do know blueprints, you're half the way there. You just need a little bit of training in understanding C++. Now, that's not the whole answer because I already knew how to program in C++ a long time ago. So I was not that unfamiliar with it, but there are a lot of things that Unreal does with C++ that it's not the same as just working with C++ by itself. It's called assisted C++ in inside the documentation because there are a lot of things that Unreal already does for you. A lot of pointer management and memory management and garbage collection that's already done for you. So it's free, as you can as I could call it. So yeah, I mean, if you already know blueprints, like translating it, the same names are used. Well, almost the same names. So it's really not that hard. Unreal coding standards. Oh, very important things. Unreal coding standards emphasize always using braces with if-else blocks for clarity and safety, which aligns with the more explicit if-else style. Yeah, so it does support it. Unreal style wants braces. Okay, it's a good idea to follow the the standards. So let's do it with the standards. They even want braces. I'll give them braces, which actually makes sense because you will see it's a good idea to follow a standard. If Unreal already gives you one, then might as well do it. Otherwise, you're going to be reading like, oh, sometimes you find this, and other times you find this. Yeah, it's still readable, and I'm not gonna get uh, too mad for how many lines? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, 8 lines. Great. Now we did compile correctly. And we can pass the turn. What else do I need in my... And uh, we're still good on time. If the player passes, it's the enemy turn. Okay, so it would be a good idea for me to... When I pass the turn, I not only set the variable, we should also... Uh, how did I call the function? Start enemy. Start enemy combatant turn. And here, start combatant turn. Now, I think it would be a good idea to actually set these values inside the start enemy combatant turn because if for whatever reason, for debug reasons, I want to force my enemy combatant turn to start, then I want the related variables to also do the same. So start enemy combatant turn, current turn, enemy combatant, and here combat. Okay, that's good. What else? If the player doesn't pass, it can do things with the tokens. It can select the actions. Uh, does the player pulls a new tokens? Token things shouldn't be inside the manager. Gear shouldn't be inside the manager. Show that the player that it will be activated. Do what the gear card will say. That should all that logic should be inside a gear type of class. But this part, if any character has 0 HP, if it doesn't, nothing happens. If it does, the combat ends. So that part is very important. And that's something that will also happen when it's the enemy's turn. Because the enemy will be able to attack, and I was thinking that they could attack through cards. You have a random deck with actions. Maybe if the enemy is a wolf, you can have a bite card or a run card or a tackle card, and you just draw random cards for the enemy. So it's completely an asymmetrical combat. But in both cases, I do want to know when the character has 0 HP so I can end the combat. For that, well, we need to a way of ending the combat. Here we are. So we do need a function for that. Oh, and to also answer about the these things which are part of the C++ assisted things. This is just the way that you have to tell Unreal uh, to tell the editor and the engine of something that can exist in and be managed by the garbage collection, especially the U properties that we have here, and especially where was it that we created this? Whenever you have references, giving it a view property will let the engine handle all the heavy lifting regarding the memory management. And that part, yeah, you do need to follow a course to not even a course. I mean, you can check the the documentation and not the reference, not really the reference here. Programming with C++ is gonna give you like the lowdown of what's exactly happening here. So yeah. Hello, Moto. Hello, anyone that has entered this stream. So yeah, let's create the combatant and let's also create a check between not necessarily the HP check. I only want a function that later on I can override to check if the HP is 0 or not, because maybe there could be a quest that ends if a weapon is broken. Like, I want to know a certain condition that may end the combat. So yeah, that's as I was saying, I want to make this combat manager as generic as I can. So let's this one should be end combat, and ending the combat We may want to give rewards to the winner. I don't know. We may want to mm, give XP, but I mean, that should be inside the rewards. XP, gold, gear, etc. I'll just add that to do. But mainly, I just want to set this combat as finished. Now, I don't know right now, this combat manager, if it's active or not. Because this is an actor, I can actually use the boolean that already comes with every actor, if it's active or not. And if it's not active, then a lot of things in the engine happens, but pretty much it means that uh, it's not gonna be working. And sometimes the tick get disabled automatically, which is a bonus. But don't quote me on that because that's what I remember from a long time ago. And because I don't remember, I can ask um, for an actor, what does it mean to be active? I found this value, this boolean inside the actor class. And let's see if I mean this AI is supposed to be trained on the documentation, and it has been really helpful. It has been really helpful that far. Can't talk. It's too late. It has been really helpful thus far. So that's why I'm asking here. An actor's active boolean generally indicates whether the actor is currently enabled and participating in gameplay updates and processing. Being active means it is considered enabled for ticking. That's the thing that I was saying. It is enabled for certain gameplay logic and component updates, which it makes sense, right? That we don't want our combat manager to be active if there's no combat. There shouldn't be um, a situation where I do something with this manager whenever there is no combat happening. Also, it says it typically affects replication and interaction states. Non-active actors can be effectively ignored by gameplay system without being destroyed, which, great. I don't want to destroy this, only to create it again, right? I may want 3, 4 battles or more in the exploration phase, in this field phase that I was talking about at the start. However, the active flag is not the sole determinant for all actors' functionality and lifestyle. Core life cycles events like begin play and end play manage activation at a higher level, while destroy marks an actor for elimination. Yeah, it's fine. Check is actor active to query this state safely. Oh, that's good to know. You can enable or disable actor activity, but set actor enable collision. What? This doesn't sound right. Or by controlling the active flag. Being active is different. I don't think this is true. I don't think that if I set the actor enable collision will actually set the activate state. Manage gameplay. I would search it in the engine, but I don't want to get in another tangent, like especially because at 10 I want to end the stream. It's too much time being seated. Uh, Manage gameplay logic by verifier. Yeah, I'll use it for this purpose. So if this manager is active, my combat is currently ongoing. So active, was it B is active? I don't remember. Was it? or just be active? Let's just ask it. Why not? In C++, I want to set up the active value to false. I think there was, now that I remember in blueprints, it was a note like set active actor is active, set actor, no, is, no. My question right now is how do all this looks in the engine currently? I'll show you. And you may be underwhelmed. Hide it with what? This is not it. Okay, let's compile. Let's show you how this looks in the engine, and also I'll I'll search the node that can actually handle the activation because that node exists in Blueprint, and we can make the comparison also between Blueprints and C++. So I have compiled the editor. So whenever I open the U project, which this is the U project, I should have something in it. Right. So how does it look like? Well, this class is called the Combat Manager. It doesn't exist as a Blueprint class. It's here in the C++ classes. In my project Hourglass, it's in the managers folder. It's here. And I could create a blueprint by right-clicking and creating a blueprint of it. Now, the thing about it is that you can't see anything because here, oh, what's this? Let's not worry about it. Because all these functions have not been defined as blueprint um, callable. Otherwise, if I put this as before doing that, and also the way that I'm creating this is in the game mode that is also in C++. But I did create a class here in my framework classes, this blueprint field mode, which is a child blueprint of the C++ class. Now, what does this means is that I should be able to see that here in the variables, I do need to enable show inherited variables, the combat category and the combat manager here. And with this, I mean, you should be able to access, for example, start combat. But I won't because it's not blueprint callable. But if I put here blueprint, whoops, blueprint callable, well, a category combat is fine. Save this, come here, and I mean, here you can also hot reload this thing with the live coding thingy. Succeeded. Now, here I should be able to call start combat because now I have exposed it to blueprints. And it's going to ask me, hey, who is the combatant? Who is the enemy combatant? That sounds good, right? Now, what I was looking for is the active. which there's a utility called is active, but uh, this one, activation components. No, this is not what I wanted. Only the components were activatable. Let me just create a. It says lo que querés hacer es desactivar el actor por completo. Sí, quería encontrar el valor este de desactivar un actor, o sea, el valor de activo, pero creo que eso es solamente para componentes. Is active. Okay, yeah. The active things is just for components. I mean, it comes by default for components because I could set active. Yeah, actor component. Okay, my bad. I do need to create a boolean then to check. I'll just create a boolean. No biggie. Bool. B, because that's the, if I remember correctly, that's how you should name all your booleans. Like lowercase b, you won't be able to see it in the name in blueprints. B is combat active. Doesn't really sound that good. Is during combat? No. There it is. Is currently in combat. And this, by default, in my constructor, I'm gonna set it to false. I always want this to be false. Other things that I should probably define actions the enemy can do, it will be 0. And is there another variable? Current turn. Current turn should be none, I think. Because if at the start, I mean, how it will actually work is by setting it to the combatant. But if it's maybe later on, I can decide if the combatant or the enemy combatant should be first, then this should be none. And with that, sometimes I could be second. Yeah, I'll set it to none. That's fine. Because whenever we do change the start combatant turn, it's going to set it up as combatant. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Great. So now it's a matter of actually using this. So when we start the combat, I'm going to hardcode that we should initialize values before the combat. When this finishes, I'm going to start the combatant turn. And you will see like, oh, why are you doing it like this? It's just the start. Whenever we add more actions that we can do, then we won't really need to, for example, put this here, or maybe probably this should be here. But we can do more things. Right now we're only doing one thing, but at the start of the combat there may be more things to do, like for example starting a HUD. I could probably put it here because I will have the information of the combatant and of the enemy combatant. So for now, Let's leave the initialization of values before combat. We will start the combatant turn, and this is fine. I think we can print something probably. Yeah, let's print something, just so we have something to show. Um, as always, I want to remember, and let's check out this. I want to remember how do I print things, but I remember I had a note somewhere here. Print, oh, Unreal log. Right, so this will write it on the console, and this will write it on the screen. This one. Let's use this one. Engine add on screen debug message. This is fine. The it's the player turn. Okay. With Control Shift B, I'll just compile it. And now if we press play, nothing will happen. Because nothing happens because I'm not starting the combat. So I do need my other character. And when this character is overlap, I will get my game mode. I will cast to my game mode, field mode. And now let's start the combat. Oop, start. I cannot call it. Oh. The game mode doesn't have it. Is the get the combat, get combat manager, and here start. Ooh, start combat. Now it's giving me this live code something. That's not a good idea to have. Let me just save this. Let me close this on my, and my lights also went off. And let me compile it without live compiling, because whenever you're live compiling, especially when you have created variables, your binaries will look like this with these patches, right? This means that your DLL has not changed. Your binaries have not changed. They are using these patches, so I'll just delete the patches. So there were more. And now let's compile. We shouldn't have any type of those patches. Perfect. And now let's test it finally. Let's open this. Oh, probably I will be live streaming almost every day just to keep myself accountable. So yeah, look forward to that. I'll probably schedule the next stream when I finish this one. What is my level? Oh, I didn't have a level. Okay, okay. Let's do it quickly so you can go. Get combat manager. Now we have a good reference. Get no start combat. Now we have the start combat. I was I was very worried about that, and now I will have the problem that this character will have this collision, and my other character will also have the collision. So it's going to start the combat twice. I won't worry about that right now. It's very easy to fix it. So yeah, the other actor is going to be the combatant. Ah, come on, actor cast 2 pound. This one, and I want this to be a pure cast because I always know that this will be a pawn, and this will also be a pure cast, and the enemy combatant will be this. I'm assuming that only the enemy combatant will be able to launch the combat. So now we will press play, and it says right now it's the player turn. Now why? It is because it's triggering. Let me just make sure that the other actor cast to um, customizable character. That's good. And ooh, it's still running like that. That's weird. Why? The other actor is the customizable character. I don't think they are colliding with themselves, but just in case, if the other actor is equal, it's different than self. And let's just add a branch node. Oh, it was colliding with itself. Holy moly. There we go. There we go. And now we finally say, oh, here's the player turn. It's firing twice because this character is also both of them has this type of collision. So what I should do actually is have a customizable character that can initiate the combats. The something like this. Let's create this as a um, let's call it combatant. And we will copy and paste this to the other class and put it here. Ooh. Ah. Yeah, my bad. Let's compile. And now we should only have one start turn, or maybe no start turn. Great. Let me just delete the overlap sphere, or just cut it and paste it here. And add event overlap. Where is it? Begin overlap. Test the other actor. Cast it to the customizable. Do my thing here and make sure that the overlap sphere has a good collision setting. Only pound. That's correct. Save and compile. Now this custom character doesn't have the this extra thing that I added, and now I do need to drag and drop my other character here. So this one is the only one that has the collision, and now I only start the combat once. Also, I should do some type of um, verification inside C++ or inside whatever I'm telling it to start the combat to check, hey, is the combat already active? If it is, do not ignore the start of the combat, right? Uh, you cast, but you didn't use the pin as BP customizable. Oh, I was only casting here to check that the class was this type of class, which right now I think it's not needed. But for some reason, it's colliding with itself. So I mean, it's really not needed. Yeah, it's really not needed. I just was trying to debug as quickly as I could. And yeah, this this can be a work in progress. The way that we are starting the combat, just so I don't forget. Here in C++, can I convert? I'll just ignore that. Here in C++, I goodbye Chrono. That's Chrono. Bye. Take care. Glad that you were part of the stream and was asking a lot of questions. But before I turned the stream off and my light went off, okay, now, now I have better lighting. Before I forget, I want to check the thing that I was telling you about starting a combat when the combat has already started, right? So currently combat, if is currently in combat, then what I want to do is send a message. I could do an assert here to make it um, stop completely and kind of crash the engine on purpose. But I don't think that it's really like that bad if you try to call a combat whenever we're already in a combat. If I just ignore it, then it's fine. If you want to assert it again, it's good. It is a good practice to catch any type of error that that you are not expecting. Like, oh, this should never happen. Assert it. In my case, I'll just ignore it. Not the best practice. It's a super small example, so I I'm not right now in the position where I should uh, do it, um, like assert everything, because well, this could change from tomorrow or from the next day or next week. This could change, so I don't want to add too much boilerplate code uh, right now. When I do know that, oh, this should never happen and this stays, I will start worrying about that. But for now, I'll just I want to write in the console. I don't want to put a message there. So to write in the console, if I remember correctly, here is just a text. And I don't want any of this. I always forget like these things. That's why in my notes it's like, oh, remember, you can log, but this is how you do it. Uh, Warning: the manager, combat manager, Oh, better yet, try to start combat in the combat manager when a combat is already active, ignoring start combat call. Perfect. And if it is false, then I'll just set it to true. Yeah, autocomplete did save me a few seconds. So yeah, we start the combat. The combat is currently true. We initialize things for the combat. Here we don't do nothing right now. Then we could probably call an event dispatcher for that's for later on. So whenever the initialization happens, then we can tell the combatants to hey initialize your things, otherwise you won't be ready for combat. And end combat. Well, we just need to set it back to false, and that's it. If only I could type correctly. That's it. That's at least for now. I have finished with the overall flow. Now we need the details of okay, you have the combat working, but um, what else are you gonna do in it, right? Now that I have something a lot more grounded, what I'm gonna do, and it's the boring part of things, is actually documenting the things that I have done. I have this class diagram uh, that is again everything is a work in progress, and here I'm just putting the variables that I have here. In this case, I have a boolean. What else do I have? I have the actions. I have the enum. Oh, let's not forget about. Oh no, we do have the int here. This enum. I mean, it's its own class, right? Or not its own class, but you get what I mean. It's its own thing. E combat turn. And I'm doing this because it will be easier for me to look at this instead of just opening C++ and start searching around. How did I put it in the other things? Contains uses. Okay, so uses. I have none in the enum. I have combatant. Oops. And I have enemy combatant. And I should be able to use this eventually inside my classes if I need to, right? So this combat manager uses the e combat turn. which I have here. Um, it has start combat. Did I also documented the? Oh yeah, I did. I also added the functions. I mean, it's boring, but it needs to be done. Or well, it's not mandatory really, but for me, it's a good way to not forget, as you have probably heard me say a lot of times in this stream, my memory is trash. So whatever I can do to make it easier for me in the future, which the future could be tomorrow or could be a month in the future, and in a month for sure I'm not gonna remember anything regarding what these functions should be able to do. Oh, oh, oh that. Oh, come on. Let me just copy it. That could have been bad. Again, Jesus. Okay, so start combat. Um, It asks to is asks for two combatants, and then the combat starts. This one initializations place to initialize anything needed for the combat. This one sets the turn to the combatant, and it's the same in the other in the other one. No, not much magic there. Pass the active turn is just depending on the current turn. Yeah, it will change it to the other combatant. End combat just ends the combat. What can I tell you? Ends the combat. This one, add enemy combatant actions. Um, Gives more actions depending on the actions. Gives more actions to the enemy combatant. Depending on the actions the combatant did in their turn. And this one spends one action uh, returns 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 true if the enemy has actions to do. and also spends one enemy combatant action. There we go. There we have it. That's what my manager is all about. And probably my game mode will also uh, grow. I mean, I already have a new a new a new variable here. Here I'll just put it like this. I'll put manager that handles everything related to the combat in the field mode. Right, so that's my way of documenting stuff. A lot of copy and pasting. And uh, if I had any doubts of any of these functionality not being final, or I mean, if I just was testing, I wouldn't be feeling this at all. At most, probably I would add the variables and be done with it, or even just setting a quick description for it is fine. But because I do know, or I have a strong feeling that this will end up being how I will handle the combat, because I was thinking it before streaming. Um, at least for me, it's a good idea to have a description, just so I don't need to enter the project and load it, which it's just text. It's easy to do, but it's more easy, at least for me, to enter the diagram and look. Oh, what's happening? Oh, the game mode. Creates it. Great. So yeah, I will leave it here. I'll make sure to save everything, commit everything. Do I? Yeah, I do have some changes. Yeah. Dice Mauro, hola profe, fui su alumno en IMA ya hace 2 años. Me alegra saber que al día de hoy sigue enseñando. Un abrazo. Ah, qué locura. Un viejo alumno. Bueno, con fe, tú también sigues haciendo cosas con Unreal. Y claro, C++ hace 2 años lo tenía más claro. Luego, como empecé a enseñar mucho a institutos y la mayoría me pedía cosas de, de beginner, Blueprints es mucho más sencillo. Entonces, casi nunca me contrataban para C++. Pero bueno, un gusto reencontrarme, Mauro, y ojalá te siga yendo bien. And well, what all that amounts to is me just submitting this and being done with it, actually. So let me just close it here, do a quick build just in case I changed something. And yeah, I'll just commit it and be done with it. Well, everyone, have a good night. Buenas noches con todos. And have a good one. Ciao.